This show contains profanity, advice you should never follow, humor that you might not enjoy. The names have been changed to protect the guilty. Do not try this at home.
Greetings, Yellow Blazers, Blue Blazers, Bill Bryson lovers, Bill Bryson haters, dancers,
trail days, recoverers,
hangoverers,
Gatoraders,
My name is Pogs Holiday, sitting across from me.
Puss in Boots.
And this week we're going to wrap that gavel up, B, with some wrap up about trail days and other stuffs. So, be right back. So, I think, let's see, I woke up Sunday morning after trail days. And I didn't speak to anyone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I need food. I need food and caffeine. I need to get out of town. And so I pulled up to a fast food place and was just like, and those are the sounds that came out of my mouth were, and the lady was like, sorry, can I help you? And I said, sorry, I had to repeat my order 3 times.
That's when you write it out on a Post-it.
And I was just there like, why don't you pull around? We'll give you the total. Like, thank you. And then when I got home 3 hours and 45 minutes later, my wife asked me to stop talking because my voice was absolutely shot after trail days. I'm surprised I got through it as sick as I was. And
yeah, good job, by the way.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm really surprised that I only drank 1.5 beers. I don't even know if I finished the beer you gave me the second one.
Well, I made up for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And on my drive home, I had that awful phenomenon of delayed hangover.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, I woke up in the morning and it was one of those, like, you open up one eye and then the other and you're like, I'm bracing for it. I'm going to feel... No, I feel all right. Well,
Yeah,
look at that. I still got it. So you get up and you splash some water on your face and you get like 3 large cups of coffee and you're like, yeah, I'm doing okay. And I had a 5.5 hour drive home. And so after a hearty breakfast and some hitchhikes back to the trailhead and a tip of my hat to the good town of Damascus.
Yeah.
I got on the road and finished Aisha Tyler's audiobook, which was really good. Yeah? And I started driving, and about an hour and a half into my drive, where I had been thinking like, yeah, I got this shit. I started to be like, oh no, I don't feel good. It wasn't like I felt drunk by any means, but it was just that like, I don't feel well. And so then for like 3 hours it was like, maybe if I get a Frosty or a cup of coffee or some chicken nuggets or something, I'll feel better. So then I got to... I think I was an hour and a half away from home, where for like a solid half an hour to 45 minutes, I occasionally had to hit myself across the face and seriously considered the logistics of pulling over, calling my fiance and saying, I don't care how you get here, but I need you to get here and drive me the rest of the way home.
Wow.
Like, I didn't think I was going to make it. Wow. It wasn't like I didn't feel sick, but like I walked in the door. Yeah, that's what it was, because I was driving my mom's car. So I had told her that I was let's swap cars back. And so I called her when I was within an hour or so from home.
Because it's easy for you to sleep in that car. That's a big thing.
Oh, yeah. No, I like to... My mom's got like a nice Subaru, and I can fold the seats down and fit very comfortably sleeping in it. So whenever I go somewhere that is amenable to you sleeping in a car, I'll do it, because that's just convenient. And I really like it, actually. So I called my mom and I said, hey, what's your schedule look like? Like, when can I get my car back to you? And she was like, well, when are you going to be in town? And I said, I'll get in to my house in about an hour. And she was like, great, just come by my house first. And I was like, nope. It's not going to happen. And she was just like, I was like, I'm really sorry, but I cannot bring your car by.
Cannot deviate from my path.
I can't, like, my eyes are on the prize. The GPS says I will be home at 5:32. And if I am home at 5:33, I might jerk the wheel into a goddamn bridge abutment. So she was not very pleased with me, but she was like, fine. You do whatever it is that you think you need to do. And I just, like, I hung up and I think I cried. Then. Like, I think I sobbed for a little bit and then I, like, pulled my shit together. I walked into my house and bless his heart, the fiance had cleaned the house.
Oh, nice.
There were flowers on the kitchen table. And he, like, walks out of his office with a big smile on his face and he's like, hey, how was your weekend? And it just was like, I'm so tired.
They made me drink.
I have to take a shower and a nap and then I might be able to talk to you about this. And he just was like, okay. And I got into the shower and I took like a 4-minute, like, military style shower of just like, I'm washing everything that stinks.
Tits and tits.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that's a thing.
It is a thing. And
Okay,
for nurses, that's what nurses do when it's like a gross person or like you don't have much time. You just wash their pits and tits. Anyway. So, yeah, like,
nurses.
I got unstinky, but, like, not unhairy. Like, it was kind of that kind of shower.
Yeah.
And I got into pajamas, and I just, like, crawled straight into bed. And he, like, came to the door and was like, I guess good night. And I'm like, no, you get in the bed, and I'm going to tell you about my weekend. And he was just like, was it bad? And I was like, no.
It was great.
It was really good, actually. I'm just tired and crabby and meh. So
I know at the prom I saw a couple of people come unraveled, like they just couldn't take the sheer amount of people that were there, and
I gotta get out of here, man.
Yeah, and it was like, and one of them were actually somebody we interviewed, and they were like, nope, I'm leaving. And I was like, oh man, stick around. They're like, thank you, no problem.
It's been lovely.
It's not you, it's them.
Yeah.
And I was like, I completely understand. But no, I had I mean, for being as shitty as I felt and as cool as it was there, that was another thing. That was,
my word.
That was the second coolest temperature-wise trail days I've been to. I went to another one time where I think it did sleet or something.
Oh my God.
And it was cold.
It was far and away the coldest I have ever.
Yeah, but I mean, it was only
experienced.
like 60 degrees or 62.
Yeah, but
it
got down to like 33 at night. It was legit cold.
Yeah. And it was,
I had when I car camp, like I either have like the 20-degree Coleman rectangular sleeping bag that
Nice.
takes up like, you know, a bear couldn't get its arms around it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'll bring that a lot if I think it's going to be cool, but if I don't, then I bring like normal bed linens just because I like to have options. Right. And I just assumed it was going to be warm. So I brought all my bed linens and I was like, it's not like I was cold, but I slept every night wearing the warmest of everything that I had brought and sleeping tucked in to everything that I had. I even had to buy a pair of socks. I didn't even pack a pair of socks. So I had to buy a pair of socks on Friday night, I think. But,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the first night, I knew I was sick as hell. And I had just received a check for something that you and I will talk about at a later date.
Ooh.
You received one as well.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll talk about that later. But I actually spent a night in a hotel. I was so sick and had so much shit to get ready again. I was just like, I don't care. like, I'm going to stay in Abington tonight. I know that's a shitbag move.
No.
But I knew if I was going to be able to make it through Saturday, there was no way I was going to be able to sleep in 30 degrees with as sick as I was.
Yeah.
So,
that's bad.
So, yeah. So, as somebody told me, they said, nope, if you're kissing babies and if you're shaking hands and kissing babies, you should get a hotel room. I was like, you're right. I should. I don't feel bad. I did feel bad night one because it did hail on me and it was like, ooh, gosh, I feel sorry for those folks. But that night was a blur, and it did help me get everything together. And then when Trail Days Saturday started, yeah, I mean, we were running around like crazy people that morning, getting shirts set, literally, getting the music set up for Trail Days, which, as we'll talk about later, took a little bit.
It's our bump.
Took a little bit of fine tuning. But then we talked about this, but I didn't really bring it up. We talked about it on Trail Days, but I did on Friday have that feeling of, man, Damascus is a cool town. I think I could live here. And then like 2 minutes later, it was like, no, I couldn't. I was like, I live 5 minutes from a trail town, and I don't even visit that trail town. Yeah. Much less living in Damascus proper. I'm sure it's cool. I'm sure there's, the people that love it. Who was that guy that lived?
Eric?
Eric. I'm sure.
Eric something.
If you were at Trail Days this year, Eric. He was a redheaded guy. He lives close to.
He had a bow tie on for prom.
He had a bow tie.
It was a cardboard bow tie.
It was. And he was
oversized.
He was standing in a chair for 90% of it. Yep. And
he had a boxer dog.
Yeah. And I'm actually in one of his selfies, but you only see my eyes and my orange hat. And because he had like a Galaxy S4 or 5, holding it up, and I just like positioned myself so he couldn't quite see me. But you mean so obviously people do enjoy it. I know that a Trail Life. The folks at A Trail Life, they used to live in Damascus proper and used to work at Mojo's and that kind of thing. But I just don't think it's for me.
You know what? I feel like everybody that's been on trail, or at least maybe not everybody, but 70% of people that have been on trail for a considerable amount of time at some point or another consider either as a real job or a retirement job, I'm going to have a hostel, right?
Exactly.
It's like the cool thing that you really, really, really want to do. But I finally realized this Trail Days, because every time I go to Trail Days or something like that, there's always some cute little house for sale that I'm like, oh my God.
There it is.
That's it. That's the one. That's the one I need to have, and I need to make it mine, and then I'll have the best shelter ever, the best hostel. It'll be great.
They'll write books about me.
I'll bake cookies, and it'll be wonderful. I'll be known as the woman that makes her own bread, and it'll be so good. So I am an old fuddy-duddy, and I have been this way since I was probably in about the 4th grade about snow. I grew up the first part of my life in New England, where snow was snow was snow was snow. Moved to Florida and then moved to North Carolina, where then it was snow. It became novel again. But I have always, since I was in elementary school, as long as I've been in North Carolina, my parents' yard is big and sloping. It's very steep. The house is on top, and then there's a steep driveway. And I would get really mad as a kid because when we got snow, the neighbor kids would run all over our front yard and sled down the front yard because it was really steep.
Right.
And I would just stand in the window and stew about they are ruining my perfect front yard that this morning was fucking pristine.
In 4th grade.
Oh yeah. And it's only gotten worse the older I've gotten. We got this first big snow. Since my fiance and I have lived together in this house, I've lived in this house for a year longer than he has. And our first big snow, we woke up the morning and was look at how pretty it is outside. And I see him collecting up his snow stuff, and I was look at here. You can choose the front yard or you can choose the backyard, but one of the yards is going to stay nice. And he was just I guess I'll go play in the backyard.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, exactly. And I realize how unfun that is, but it's just the way I've always been. And I realized at Trail Days this year, I was like, that's how I would be as a hostel owner. Like,
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I like playing in the snow too, but only if people play my way.
Yeah.
And don't you dare throw a snowball at me.
See, I used to think when I was younger that I would love to own like a small motel or hotel.
Yeah.
Like a boutique kind of hotel, motel thing. And I remember reading an article a few years back about one of the members of the B-52s, like one of the women. She runs like this insanely kitsch hotel, and I read all about it. I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome.
The Airstream Hotel, that one's mine. It's like in the desert somewhere in like Arizona or something like that, where this person basically like bought a mobile home park,
right,
and started collecting Airstream trailers and refurbished them, and like each one has a theme, and he rents the Airstreams out by the night.
I think it's
and every
like
time
that,
I read about that, I'm like, oh my God.
It. But then I realized I feel the same way about a restaurant.
Right.
Where I'm like, oh man, we're having a restaurant would be great. But then I realized that I've put myself in place as the patron.
Yeah.
And like when I leave a restaurant, my fucking dishes are stacked. Mm-hmm. Like the busboy or busgirl only has to come by and pick up basically one thing.
Right.
And it's like me, the person I'm with, we all have our plates stacked together because we've worked in restaurants. And then I realize the same thing when I leave a hotel room, for the most part. Mm-hmm. When I leave a hotel room, it's pretty damn clean.
Right. The trash is collected.
Trash is all collected. And then I realize, oh no, there's fucking shitbags in the world that would come stay in my hotel or eat in my restaurant.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel about a hostel.
Yeah.
You know, love hikers to death, but nobody will shit on you faster than a hiker.
Right.
You know, and it's not every person. It's unfair to say that and as a generalization. But I feel that way where I'm like, yeah. And then you catch wind of, you know, bad hikers.
Yeah.
Or, you know, maybe a hiker that'll tell you, fuck you.
Yeah. It happens.
And it happens. Not saying we know anybody that's happened to. But, you know, those kind of things, and you're like, like that would kill my spirit as far as owning a hostel goes.
You know what? That was, I remember when I was on trail talking to Baltimore Jack when I was on trail, and I was at King Cora, and he was talking all about, you know, I guess that group at that point, like, there had been 2 different women that came in and said, I don't want to stay, I just want to take a shower, and in payment for taking a shower, I'll clean the shower. And they were both like mom age, where it was like they looked in the shower and they were just like, well, this needs to get done.
Yeah.
And so both of them cleaned the showers. So the showers were clean, and then they got ready to leave. And Jack was like, this place looks better this evening than it did this morning, and we have you guys to thank for that. So thank you. And he was like really nice about it. And he started talking about how there had been a period of time, probably when he was at home, you know, living right outside of Dartmouth, and it was something like he was in a house that had like a small apartment attached to it or something like that, but he had decided that he was going to turn it into a place that hikers could stay. Mm-hmm. And so he had gone to like Target or Walmart or something like that and spent like $400 on like sheets and towels and shit to put in this place and make it feel homey, and mops and paper towels and, you know, all of this other, you know, kitchen towels and some, you know, dish soap and stuff that his hope was that people could kind of take care of the place while they stayed, which most of the time I feel like we've talked about, like if you can give hikers a domestic outlet, they'll take it. Yeah. Like if you
give them a broom and a shelter.
You leave a broom in a shelter and they're going to use it. And so Jack had said that, you know, there were people staying in this place and it had gone pretty well for a while. And then because it had gone pretty well, he kind of stopped checking in on it. And, like, a week had gone by, and people had been in and out, like, you know, like the hiker community moves. There had been lots of people in and out in the course of a week. And he said that he walked up, and there were people staying there that he had never met. Like, just because they had heard word of mouth, like, there's a new place that you can stay outside of Dartmouth, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And he walks up, and there are 2 kids sitting on the porch steps with their muddy-ass boots, and they are cleaning their boots with the dish towels. And they're, like, scrubbing their boots, and the dish towels are trashed.
Yeah.
Like, they're covered in mud. Like, not the kind of mud that you can just, like, run it through the washing machine, and it's gonna look like new kitchen towels. And Jack just walked up and was like, "The fuck are you guys doing?" And they were like, "Cleaning our boots." And he was just like, "This is my house. Put the fucking dish towels down. Get the fuck out now." And, like, was really mad about it. And it's like, for the most part, people would take really good care of it, I think. But it's one of those, it's like my goddamn kitchen. As soon as there are 3 dishes in the sink, all of a sudden the kitchen is a mess. And as soon as you let one little thing slip, everything's crazy. So it's like, I could see how it would be like that too. You know, you've got, everything is under control until it's not. Yeah,
it just takes that one thing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a few times I might have been at a hostel when
you might have been that one thing.
No, like I feel like the one thing happened right before I got there a couple of times, or it happened while I was there, and like a lot of people, like I listen to a lot of podcasts, and one thing you hear a lot of people talk about is TSA, like when you're going through the airport, and they all talk about how like. They all talk to us like we're idiots, and this, it's like, or you hear people talk about like police profiling and that kind of thing. I used to work for the park system on the county level in North Carolina, and after being there for only a year, I could pretty much pick out the cars that were coming into our park that were either going to do something illegal. We're gonna have sex in the car. Mm-hmm. We're going to completely empty the contents of a blunt, tobacco-wise, onto the ground, lay their trash out, or people that were going to come in and drink. And it's like, it had nothing to do with race.
Right.
It was just like the way people pulled into the park. I was like, oh, they're looking for the best place to hide.
Right.
And that kind of thing. And it's like, so I pretty much had that mentality with 90% of the people that were coming into the park. It's kind of like, I'm looking at them like, are you the one making the mess? Are you?
Right.
And I kind of feel that's what happens like with hikers, or like when you're going through TSA, it's like they have to say everything in your pockets, because some people don't understand that when we say empty your pockets, that means everything.
Right.
And so like, I feel like, so probably after a while, there must come some point in the season when people who run shelter or who run hospitals and things like that are like, fuck it.
Yeah.
there must
fuck it
be that.
And fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you.
That was I had sent my bounce box to a pretty popular place in Gorham, and ended up not staying there because I was hiking with somebody who had a dog at that point, and they didn't let dogs in.
Right.
So we had kind of bypassed them, gone to a place where we could stay with the dog. Took a zero, and on the way back out of town, went by this place, and I walked in with a $5 bill, and I had the, like the postage address stickers with me. Like I had a couple with me. I had it already pre-printed out where the next place that I wanted to send it on to, all they would have had to do is hand it to the postman, and it would have gone on. And so I walked in to the office, and I said, "Hey there, I'm so-and-so. I here to get a package, and actually, I'm really sorry. I can't even stay. I'm not going to stay, but I just was wondering if I could put a new label on and you could send it on for me." And she just got this look on her face, And I said, I am truly sorry that I'm not going to stay here. I can give you $5 just for your trouble. And she was like, yeah, I'll take your money. And you need to tell everybody else that you know that they cannot, that you're the last person we're doing this for. Tired of this fucking shit, blah, blah, blah. She just like, I was it. I was the,
you were the straw.
I was the straw. And I just remembered thinking, like, let's take a step back here, because I feel like it's perfectly logical. If you're going to let people send packages to you and they come in with $5 bill in their hand and say, I'm really sorry for the trouble of the service that you provide to people. I'm going to give you money for doing nothing except leaving a box on your shelf with the other 30 boxes that are on your shelf. I have a sticker that I'm going to put on this box. God. I'm just asking that the next time the postman comes through, if you can hand this to him.
Yeah.
And she just looked like I had said, I'm going to kick you right in the ovaries, and where's your grandma? Because I'm going to kick her in her ovaries too.
Yeah.
And it was just like... And she said some nasty things to me, and I just remembered being like, lady.
It's like, I know
really
I'm
sorry.
the last straw, but good God, like, I wasn't the one here before.
Yeah, I don't deserve this. I didn't trash your hotel or whatever it was. Like, I didn't trash anything, actually. I'm literally just stopping in to give you money and to put a piece of paper on something else. That's it.
Aside from the just general physical beatdown that trail days gave me, I had a blast. I had a really good time. I didn't go into the parade this year because we were dealing with tearing everything down, getting ready for prom. But we interviewed definitely more people than we did last year, just by like one or two. And then the other thing was there were some surprise people like what's his name, The Rock and Teabag.
I don't know that I met Teabag.
Teabag was the last one to come up with The Rock. He was part of Gryffindor
with the noise.
No, I don't think we knew who the noise guy was.
I'm sure somebody will.
Somebody will know who the noise guy was, but there's that, and then of course we met Wild Child. Two of my favorite people that I met. Do you know what I'm about to talk about?
Yeah.
At the end of the night?
Maybe not.
So two of my favorite people were after the prom. They were friends of Wild Child's. And there were two guys with bow ties. And they were shorter than me.
Wow.
Those two guys, they were like, hey. They were just goofy guys. I thought they were great. Boy. But they both had bow ties on. But I can't remember their names, but they were just two funny guys. They were just kind of goofy at the end of the night. And then the one thing I heard a few times from like several people, not just people we interviewed, but people that came up and talked to us and things like that. But they came up and said that they quoted us. Like Wild Child said she quoted us.
I want to know what they're saying.
So I asked that on Twitter the other night. And let's see, somebody said they quote the intro to people, and I'm like, really? Like the green blazers, blue blazers? But the best one out of all of them was this guy. His first tweet ever was a response to the question. The picture of him, I don't have my phone. My phone's dead right now, so I can't find what his name was. But it was like he has an alliteration name. It's like his first and last name both start with like a B, I think. And his first ever tweet was a response to this saying, palms down, circular motion. Can we do this over again? Do this over again.
Nice.
And I was like, that's awesome. And then I clicked on the guy and was like, that was your first tweet ever. Was a response to that. Like, holy shit. And like I said, his picture is of him at Trail Days. But I was like, if there was ever a quote that needed to be
I'd like to do this all again.
Do this again. And I thought that was pretty good.
Nice. That makes me excited.
Yeah. And let's see here. A dog won Jenga.
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting.
I saw a dog play Jenga and it won.
That was a pretty good story. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I relayed this to my wife, who is also a Parks and Rec major.
Yeah.
are you allowed to remove a claw from a dead bear and keep it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
I mean...
I don't care.
No.
Put it that way. I don't care. I was just wondering,
it's like Rattler with his rattle.
A rattler.
Rattler.
But like I wondered but the best part was it was like several people told us that story, and we never saw her.
No.
But were you like me?
I think it's kind of gross that she had the claw in a bag around her neck. Like,
were you searching for people with bags around their necks after that? Because
no,
I was always
no.
like,
I've seen dead bears, and I've seen people with dead bear claws around their necks.
Yeah.
Actually, it's gross. There's like, Plus, I can't get over it. And I think I said this when they were telling us the story, but I used to work at an animal hospital where on occasion I would have to help declaw cats. Mm-hmm. And it's awful. It is awful. It's a terrible thing to watch. You have to like milk all the blood out of their little arm first. Yeah. And they're like on fentanyl. They're like in fucking outer space. So, but you like...
literally on cat drink.
Yeah, you have to like reverse jerk off their arm, like pull all the blood out of the arm, put a tourniquet on. And really,
that's pretty much jerking off. Though,
well, it's the other.
So you're getting everything out.
It's you're squeezing.
Sorry. I wish people could see the hand motions.
But you put a tourniquet on their little armpit, and then really all you do is you've got like these little forceps-y things that grab the nail. Mm-hmm. You pull it way out, but you put. It's just like, like there's the dog nail clippers,
right?
And it's like clipper style, like as if you've got like, hedge trimmers kind of thing, or it's called guillotine style, where there's like a little hole and you push it and it closes.
Yeah.
So all you do is you put the hole for the guillotine clippers through the nail, you pull it back, and you clench it, and this fucking talon with meat on the end of it clips off, and then by the time you have declawed this cat, you have a pile of meaty talons, and it's disgusting. And then they're on lots of good drugs, and they don't even fucking realize what's going on.
On ketamine.
Yeah, you shave a big patch on them, you put a fentanyl patch on them, and they're chasing imaginary things around their cage for like 2 days. They're really happy. Like, please don't write in and be like, that's terrible. I can't believe that people do that, and everybody that declaws their cats are going to hell. But, But that's all I could think about when they were talking about, like, we had to, like, wrestle this claw out of this dead bear. And it's like, oh, that's not attractive.
And then there was, like, several people ate a dead deer.
Ugh, I cannot.
And they were like, I don't believe that bears exist.
This is not Naked and Afraid. There's a supermarket like 10 miles from wherever you are.
It was like they were just at Standing Indian. It wasn't like they were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Yeah,
it was just like right there.
It was Standing. Yeah, there was like the shelter before Standing Indian.
That's gross.
I guess a road crossing, because I think. And then somebody, I think T-Vac said, I think a wolf got it.
Oh. We interrupt this podcast because Puss in Boots has to poop.
Oh, well.
I'll be speedy. I always am.
That's that primo pizza.
Don't push.
I think we might have mentioned this before, but somebody, it might have been Badger, or somebody was saying, hey, what are your favorite books? What are your favorite adventure books to read? And my favorite book of all time is called Keeper of the Moon. It's by a guy named Tim McLaurin. He's a North Carolina author. It's one of those books that if you weren't raised in the South, you probably wouldn't appreciate as much. It's about growing up in the South and that kind of thing. And so I was answering the question. It was just like a Q&A forum kind of thing one day or something like that. And I was like, oh, Keeper of the Moon by Tim McLaurin. And then I was like, wait, it's Tim McLaurin. It's not Tim McLaurin. Is it Tim McLaurin? Tim McLaurin. So I was just like, I'm just going to Google it. So I Googled Keeper of the Moon, Tim McLaurin. And so that was the first thing that came up. And then the second thing that came up was the Keeper Moon Cup.
Oh, yeah.
And the Keeper Moon Cup is a Diva Cup.
It's the British version of the Diva Cup because Diva isn't a word that they use a lot over there.
Right.
So they call it a moon cup. I also didn't realize until I started hiking with friends from the UK that, like, over there, like, she would call it, like, her moon cycle. And it wasn't, like, a hippie thing. It was just,
Right.
like, what they called it, apparently. Maybe I'm wrong. If you're from the UK and you know better than me on this, like, please let us know. But and she would just kind of shorten it to, like, I'm on my moon. And it was like, oh, okay. But it was a moon cup was what she used, yeah.
I had the hardest time figuring it out. I was like, what the fuck is this? And it was like, oh, because it was like menstruation. And I was like, I don't think that was what this book was about.
No,
it's like, oh, the Keeper / moon cup.
Yes. Yeah, and the Keeper is the same thing as the Diva Cup, only it's made out of latex instead of silicone.
Question, have you seen people smoking those electronic cigarettes?
Yeah.
They just look like a robot dick. I like the big ones. I passed a guy today.
Yeah.
He had it like backwards, like he was like putting it in his mouth and was like looking at me and like
it's
aggressively smoking a robot dick.
Like an e-cigar.
Yeah, it was. It literally looked like an e-recorder.
Ooh. No. I've dated 2 guys that both like smoked electronic cigarettes as if their life depended on it. Like, and both of those were the 2 guys that I dated prior to my fiance were both like chained to their e-cigarette. In fact, one of them he bought like the package of, it was like 2 e-cigarettes and a shit ton of cartridges. And then there was one that you didn't have to recharge. Mm-hmm. It just plugged into a USB port. So he'd plug it into his computer, and whenever he was sitting at his computer, it was just like there. And so he would just like smoke out of his computer. It was really bizarre.
That would probably really look like a robot dick.
Well, but that one particularly was designed to look like a real cigarette, so it was even painted like it was white with a little a little tan part, and it was the same size as a normal cigarette. And then the next guy that I dated after that had one that basically looked like, do you remember those pencils in elementary school or middle school that like had the built-in like crazy grippy on it?
Yeah.
Basically looked like that, but like 3 times as big. So it's like about the size of like a slightly longer Sharpie.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then it had this weird, like, it almost looked like it had a hand grip on it, but really that was like, I think just like the cartridge or something like that. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
And it came in like a fucking pencil case, zippy thing that he was like, really. It's funny though,
it's a lot to fucking carry around.
Because both of them were really self-conscious about it. Uh-huh. And in my mind, I'm just like, I mean, I feel like it's better than standing like a creeper, outside of the building in the doorway, like trying to smoke a cigarette. And like one of them worked in a job where he could not be seen smoking a cigarette. And so he was like, every now and then I just duck into the stairwell and like suck the fuck out of this thing,
spit out some mist,
right? And but in my mind I was just like, that's perfect. You could literally smoke it in a stairwell or a bathroom stall, and by the time you've blown it out, it's like in the air. It's not even, it's
gone.
Yeah. Your manager could be in the stall next to you and would just never know.
Yeah, you're not going to set off a fire alarm.
Right. It's not like you're going to smell like it on your clothes or your breath or your hands. To me, it seems kind of logical. I can't smoke them. Like, I've tried.
I never have.
I've tried, and I choke on it. Like, because it feels like you're breathing in steam, like, and it just chokes me in a weird way.
Like deep breathing in your shower.
And it also made me feel really weird. Like, it made my heart super racy, like, which just, it made me feel crazy. Like, I feel way better when I smoke a real cigarette, which doesn't happen very often.
Right.
But when I smoke a real cigarette, it's not like all of a sudden my pulse doubles and I'm like, oh God, I feel really weird. But it was
And you
just
feel a lot cooler.
Yeah.
Or you look a lot cooler.
You do feel cooler. It's true.
Don't smoke, kids. So, another thing I was going to say is,
do people have those on the trail?
I don't know.
See, is that what you're asking?
Well, I saw the guy aggressively smoking one like at me today, which was interesting. And it was like in a car situation. He was passing me. I was in the right lane. He was passing me in the left. It wasn't like I was going slow in the left-hand lane. But yeah, it was kind of odd. Made me think of that. I'll tell you one thing. Well, I was trying to think of the ones I saw at Trail Days. I saw a few e-cigarettes, but I feel like an e-cigarette is just one of those things that it's just one more thing that needs power to carry. The old prof, your lungs adapt, I guess. If
the lungs adapt.
Your lungs adapt. I don't know. I don't think I saw many.
They're temperamental,
right.
They're not.
And I don't think one lasts as long as like a pack of cigarettes would, right?
I don't think so.
They get to change cartridges and stuff.
I mean, it's been a while since I've had like up close and personal, but like it seemed like they needed to be plugged in about the same amount as a cell phone, like every night or every other night kind of thing. And I mean, I'm sure that depends on what model you have and all that stuff. All I know is I worked with a guy who was like, a pack and a half a day smoker. Right. And he was going to try. And I mean, good old boy hated computers and technology and like got me one of them there robot cigarettes. And he was like pretty like, I'm gonna make this happen. And he had always worn like kind of Western-y style snap up shirts and stuff like that, and like all of the chest pockets of all those shirts like had a cigarette package like worn into it,
like a dip
exactly
in your back pocket
exactly
kind of thing. Yeah.
And he started carrying his little e-cigarette in that pocket instead. And I think he had it for like 3 days before he ran it through the wash and was just like,
motherfucker,
well, that was $87 and I just ran through the wash, so it's back to the Marlboro Reds now. Like, and so he totally gave it up because he was just like, if it can't hold up,
God. I know that just a couple of quick things I had written down. How many people do you think turned off the podcast the first time they heard us say, my wife?
Oh gosh, I hope none. Because I think it's hilarious.
Good, okay.
Still. It's made me decide that from now on, as often as I can possibly remember, I will refer to my husband to be as my husband.
Did you see anybody that just was... I've seen some pictures online from Trail Days. Did you see anybody that just stood out as being an interesting individual? Because I'll tell you mine.
I mean, it's Trail Days, so there's always...
Did you see the old man in tie-dye?
Oh, yeah, he's there for you.
The one, like, basically wearing, like, the Green Man outfit, but it's tie-dye?
Yeah.
And he has the big glasses?
Yeah.
He reminds me of... for people that watch, I'm one of the nerdy people that does watch the Tour de France. Mm-hmm. There's this one guy, the Devil Man. He looks just like that old man with like a big long white beard, and then he just dresses like the devil and like stands at passes like he knows the camera will be there, and he like runs. He has a pitchfork. And he like runs along and jumps up and down, and I was like, he just reminds me of that guy, because I started seeing pictures of that dude on Wednesday before Trail Days.
Nice.
You just look for the hashtag Trail Days, and it was like, oh, and he just kept popping up along the way. He was an interesting fellow. There was a woman walking around wearing like. She looked like she could have been in the Traveling Wilburys. And she was wearing like a suede leather jacket but like it was worn. I saw her like every time I had to go up and down Main Street in Damascus. It was like she was walking one way or the other and either had a box in her hand, didn't have a box in her hand. And at first I was like, well, this person just must... Because, you know, there is a weird crossover at Trail Days where there's like a biker contingent.
Yeah.
There's definitely like a, you know, a Harley Davidson crew.
That's the beginning of like good motorcycling weather.
Right.
And they like to be on country roads.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Like the Tail of the Dragon out by me.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but there always does seem to be that crossover, so I thought, oh, this must be part of the biker I'm camping out too kind of contingent. Right. But then it was like, no. I think she's Don Was from the Traveling Wilburys, whatever you want to call. Let's see. That was one of my... Did you have any other favorite people that kind of stuck out?
You know, I feel like somebody, when I was on trail and I was at Trail Days, somebody cheerfully said this to me, and I've thought about it every Trail Days since, where I wish that there was like a preface in trail journals and stuff like that before Damascus, before Trail Days, that says, you need to understand that there's going to be a huge crowd of people who would give their non-dominant hand to be doing what you're doing right now.
Right.
And like, it's not that they're mad at you, it's just that they're really jealous. Like, because and it was said to me so offhandedly, and like it wasn't a big deal, and every time I go to Trail Days I'm always just like, you don't even know what you have. Like like I get, and it's not like I'm mad at people, but it's just sort of this like, it just kicks me right in the pants of the...
You'd love to be in their shoes.
I'd love to be... I mean, and, you know, for the most part, like, I am settled. I have a house. I have a job. I have a dog. I have got the fence. I've got the everything. And it's all stuff that I want. But going to Trail Days is one of the only times that it makes me think, like, I could sell it all and leave it all today and be doing something like this tomorrow.
Yep.
And that would be cool, right? And it's like one of the first times in my life that I have to say, like, no, it's not cool. It's not cool. It's not time for that right now.
Yeah.
You did that once before. You'll probably do it again. But right now is not the time. So shut your face.
I think about that too. I'm like, I'm definitely decades away from being able to take 6 months off.
Right.
And I never thought I'd be in that position.
Right.
Like when I was hiking the trail, I was, you know, I never thought I'd be in that, like, well, here we are. And, you know, one of my favorite sayings is life gets in the way sometimes. And right now life's in the way. There's no more through hiking for me right now. That's kind of having to live vicariously through others.
And it's not even like that's a bad thing.
No.
Like there's a time and a place for everything, and
well, that's what I think to myself is like, oh God, I could get rid of it all, and then it's like, then what do I do in 6 months? Right. And not that, you know, and I didn't know what I was going to do in 6 months when I started, you know, years ago. But I definitely wish I had taken more advantage of my vagabond lifestyle and gone ahead and set his head. Yeah. And wish I'd gone ahead and hiked another long trail before getting into this settle down situation. But, you know, but again, like you said, it's one of those where I wrote down, this isn't really on the subject, but I wrote this down randomly one night. I was, I started the Pacific Crest Trail and didn't finish. And I really had this long thought the other day where I was like, you know what? I think I would probably be divorced from my wife had we actually finished that trail. Yeah. Because I wasn't I wasn't mature enough / ready to be in a relationship on a long trail. Yeah. Nothing against people that do that successfully. We just weren't in the right place to do it right then. And, luckily we got off when we did. My wife wanted having a medical issue but we got off when we did. And I think back, I'm like, if I had pushed it, my wife would probably hate me.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know what it is, but I just feel like it just wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
It just was not the right time to do that then. And it was trying to kind of pry it in the regular life.
Well, I mean, and I think most people that didn't end up finishing their AT hike would say the same thing, that it's this, like, when it stops being what you set out for it to be and it starts being a real struggle, like not just hard, but a real honest to God struggle against what the world's sort of trying to push on you, then it's not a good time for that. It's become not the right time.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, just because you didn't finish, like we've said many times before, just because you didn't finish doesn't mean you never will. Well, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, too, like, and then there's always that person that everybody knows that, mine was the guy Hoover, who wasn't going to start until he finished college, which was like, what,
middle of May, late May.
Yeah, like May 3rd or something like that. He was going to start the day after he graduated from college, and he had, from the day he graduated from college until the day that his big boy job started, was exactly 100 days.
Right.
And he was like, I got 100 days, let's do this. He knew, he like sat down with a calculator, did the math, and said, all right, I have to do this many miles a day. And it was something crazy. It was like over 20 miles a day every day. He never took a 0 day, except for, and I don't even think that he stayed in town almost ever. He got off trail for 4 days to be in a wedding.
That always seems to be the reason people get off.
So crazy.
It's a fucking wedding.
Yeah.
That's ice cold. Came to my wedding.
Right. Right. He got back on trail after the wedding, hiked his ass off. When I met him, we were in the 100-mile wilderness. We met at lunchtime, and it basically was like he was like, you want to hike together? And it was like, if I can keep up. And we hiked until 3 o'clock in the morning. And at first I was like, this is a cool little night hike. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, we're not stopping. And it kind of just became one of those things that at some point it was like, I'm not hungry. Like, we'll just keep doing this for a while. And we hiked until we got to a shelter beyond where I had planned on stopping. Like, I had planned on staying at a shelter, and we hiked like 7 miles further than that, which in the 100-mile wilderness is a long way.
Yeah.
And so we got there and crashed out, and I woke up the next morning. He was gone already. And he finished, summited, got back to Millinocket, and his mom had sent 3 days worth of work clothes and a pair of shoes in a box to the hostel in Millinocket. He grabbed those, took a shower, got a ride to Bangor, hopped a plane, and had like a day to spare to fly to like Boston for his first day of work or something like that. Now, I would never say that he did that wrong.
Right.
But I would maybe say it may not have been the right time for him, but he wasn't going to jinx it. He wasn't going to question it. That was his plan. And, maybe it's just that he has way more like resolve or self-control than I do, but, man.